Okay, welcome back to this section of the beginner guitar course with me, Rex Pearson. If you've just jumped in here, you're going to have to head over to rexpearson.com because the way YouTube runs, everything's all over the place and you can't really organise it. So if you go over to rexpearson.com and have a look at the guitar course, it's all neatly laid out for you. So you're quite far now. If you haven't checked the website, head over there and start from the beginning because all the things I talk about in this part probably not covered before if you're a beginner. Okay, E minor chord then. Sometimes this is the first chord that people learn. We've been looking at major chords first because it's a good place to start because more songs use those major chords than use the minor chords. However, this is probably one of the easiest chords that people pick up and are able to play, so we can just jump straight in. There's only 2 fingers involved on this one. I'll talk through any problems that I've experienced students having and we'll work from there and hopefully get a nice clear sounding E minor chord ready to incorporate into some of our exercises for changing from one chord to the next. So let's zoom in for an E minor chord. We're looking at the E minor chord and let's just get straight on with it. One note at a time, just as before. Now, there are 2 ways you can finger this chord. Now I'm going to show you the one that I suggest to use, but I'm also going to show you first the one that some people use. They use 2 fingers, I won't hold them up that way, 2 fingers, first finger on the 2nd fret, second finger on the 2nd fret. Now don't do this with me, but this is one way you might see someone doing an E minor chord. Problem with this is that the first finger is taken up playing an E minor chord. If you need to change, for example, a common change would be to E major or A minor, the first finger's got to come quite a long distance away. It's not really geared to change from this chord to a lot of other chords. So, I'm going to teach you the other way, which uses the middle 2 fingers, which might feel a little bit more difficult to start off with, but because it's such an easy chord anyway, usually, compared to the others, we're going to use the slightly more difficult, but much more beneficial E minor chord. So, 2nd finger goes on the 2nd fret on the A string, which is also sometimes called the 5th string. There's lots of names for these strings, so I'll try and use all of them. Make sure again you're placed just behind the fret, on the tip of the finger. Make sure your hand position is cupped. So 2nd finger on there, thumb should be around the 1st fret, just slightly poking over the top. You can pull it behind the fret if you really want to. It gives you more room to lift off if you're having problems with muting strings. That's another tip that you can use. So 2nd finger's about there. To bring in the next finger though, it's going to have to drift to about halfway so that the 2nd finger in a minute can tuck in just behind it. The 3rd finger, sorry. Let's just play this note, 2nd finger on its own. It should sound something like this. Big thick string that one, so it might be quite difficult. You might need a bit more force to push this one down, but it should be on the tips. 2nd finger then tucks in just behind, lines up on the same fret but on the string just underneath, the D string or the 4th string. So let's play that note on its own, make sure it's just behind the fret. 3, 2, 1. Should sound something like that. If you're having problems with muting, this one might have gone too far forward. Make sure that when you place this 3rd finger, the 2nd finger doesn't move too far back, because if it does, when you come to strum, you're going to get buzzing sound, especially on these thicker strings. You really need to make sure it's at least halfway and try and squash in that 3rd finger so that it's actually on the 2nd fret as well as your 3rd and 2nd finger. Make sure they're both on there. So let's play those 2 notes together and then a strum. The wonderful sound of an E minor chord there. Quite menacing, some people think. Okay, so a couple of problems that some people might find. Again, like I said, with the 3rd finger moving in, moves the 2nd finger down. Watch that doesn't happen. When you strum the chord, what generally happens, the usual suspect here, the 3rd finger, like I've said on all the other chords, generally mutes the string below it. So just like you've been doing with the other chords, make sure that you're not touching this side of the fretboard. You've got the thumb in the right place and you lift it up on the tips. That forces the hand to be in the correct position. It might feel awkward, but you don't want to have that 3rd finger muting the G string on its own. strings to ring out clearly. If it's not, adjust, just like we have been doing, strum. Adjust, strum. When you've got it, release the hand, relax the hand, clean the hand if you want to, then line up the fingers back on the fretboard in the right place and strum. Hopefully it will go back in the right place. If not, adjust it, adjust, adjust until you get it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the E minor chord. We're going to move on pretty quickly because we're on level 2 now, so you guys should be well on your way to learning a few good songs coming up. E minor chord here, done. I'll see you in the next part where we're going to be looking at the final minor chord, and then we're going to look at changing from one to the next, some strumming patterns. Then we're going to get cracking on some songs that use some of these chords. So I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you did enjoy it, make sure you're sharing it with family, friends, co-workers, colleagues, anyone who might be interested in a bit of free guitar lessons. Alright, I'll see you in the next part where we're going to be looking at D